Thank you very much, Drakos, and crew, a variety of things, says Jackspectra. I'm Initialise, still filling in. This is Nymaera, who may be more familiar with.
And it is a bit surreal to say this. It is bring your brother to work day. Yeah. We are flesh and blood brothers in the casting profession, here to bring you the first LEC series of today between Movistar KOI and BDS. Obviously honoured to be joined with you, Sam, as well, as we get into Fearless for day 2.
It definitely is, and we've been doing a fair amount of Fearless. We've been seeing a lot of it over in the LPL and stuff, so LEC is kind of getting used to it. We've only been here, what, 1 day before this? We've had 2 series, and a lot of these teams still figuring out exactly what they want to get a hold of it. As our teams begin the walkout onto the stage and the crowds go wild.
Yesterday, we thought the matchups were going to be a little bit slanted in one team's favor. I think the games both of them today promise something potentially a little bit closer. These teams had a bit of history last year too. Both had a chance to knock each other out in various playoffs, so we'll see if they keep up the record of one side or the other today. Very excited to see what these teams have got for their first best-of series of the year.
And I think for BDS, there was a little bit of worries towards the beginning, this bit exactly how far they would go, and then they managed to pick up the wins, and people now saying this series, actually perhaps a little bit closer than the scoreline itself might suggest.
And on the other side, Movistar KOI started strong. I think stayed pretty strong throughout the grand majority of the regular season, but favor changes quite quickly. Fortune changes pretty quickly. Movistar KOI, they played very fast, very entertaining, very engaging League of Legends, multiple melees, whereas BDS on the other side played a little bit more considered. They played towards long-range carries, playing the opposite side of that coin. I love how the desk phrased it as well in terms of playing these diametrically opposed styles, as I want to see how that interacts here. I'm not going to say it's bad to be a slower team as in the side of BDS playing for that longer range composition, but it does make it very, very different when they're facing up against the heavy engage of MKOI.
Because it's different philosophies, if you know what I mean. Not necessarily bad philosophies,
God,
but
really
it's different philosophies. I'm not going to go like stoicism or something on you, but we are into draft. Worth noting, of course, Mel is enabled, so Mel is banned, getting rid of the Maokai as well. On the other side, Skarner, despite the nerfs, still on the ban table. People just don't want to give that champion up. Vi as well.
And I think it's really important that the Nidalee ban has come here from Movistar KOI as well. BDS have been playing 3 champions religiously, and that is the Nidalee, the Jace, and the Parus. They love playing all of those things and similar champions in the vein as well. The Zyra was the other long-range jungler that 113 is playing. I love this prep from Movistar KOI. Takes away some of that triple poke combo that BDS like to play around.
And the desk was literally talking about it. Well, isn't that just 2 bans, and that's all you need to do? So what does 113 have in the back pocket to go with this?
And one of these is a permanent ban for the rest of the series. That Zyra first pick. BDS can't use it in the series now. That is the joy of Fearless. Ambessa on the other side, though, we're going to talk about taking away some of the preferred tools of BDS. The Vi Ambessa combo from Movistar KOI has been their bread and butter. So the Ambessa taken away from Myrwn, who I think is the LEC's best player of the champions, either him or Oscar Renin, one of the two. It's a very good takeaway, and into the hands of Relevant, who we want to have a statement series today, especially after a regular season where I think he left something to be desired.
I think that's fair. 113 going back to an old staple of his in the Viego by the looks of it. An AD option is not really in that archetype of the long-range poke disengage that he has been finding a lot of success on.
It is, however, what he used to play back in like 22.
It's very true.
Casting down
he's playing with Parus again.
Yeah, back then. And he's been playing over the last couple of years. So, MKOI, what do they want to do to finish out this first round of bans? Cassante into Ambessa, it's a good laning phase. And the Ambessa, yes, eventually can really start to kind of dash past him in the team fights, but Cassante has been still top of the tree when not against something like that Jace. You see the Jace isn't there. Looking at Cassante, pretty easy to play around.
Still got to figure out exactly how they want to round out this draft. I think the Rell is a big pick for both supports, so getting a hold of it here in round 1 feels really nice for the side of MKOI.
So BDS needs to get some magic damage in from somewhere. Nuke has been the real core of BDS as they go towards their longer range late games. Yeah, of course, it would be picking blind pickings in the mid lane right now, but you could also lock in some, you know, Victor, Azir, these powerful champions which you used well in the regular season.
Thinking about an Aurora here. Aurora has been another one of those champions that's often been on the ban table, bluntly. Not seen as much of as you might think, but comes on through. Very potent team fight now between the Viego resets after Aurora pops the ult. You see what the combo is. I need to probably add in a little bit of initial lockdown to help these carries set up, and I think they're feeling pretty okay with their draft BDS. It's not necessarily the style we've always seen for them, obviously, as we've talked about with 113, but the combo still makes sense.
And let's be honest, you know, if you're playing one style, and this is gross oversimplification. But if you're playing one style, you need to start diversifying that when you get in towards Fearless Draft and playoffs. This is best of 3s, and Fearless is going to get ratcheted up in difficulty as we go through it as well, because the more games you play in a series, the less stuff you have to continue on with. Removing some of the melee engage from Jojopyun, Movistar KOI, they love having 2-3 melee engages. One of those is that Elyoya in the mid lane. Sadly, one of the brothers, Sam.
Sad,
sad, removed.
We did get those yesterday, but you were cast with me, so we didn't get to have a whole running joke about brothers.
Imagine what
on
I mean, already, Sam, I was paying attention to some chats. Like, who's casting with Vedius? It's another Vedius. Sam, now we've got Vedius and Vedius without Vedius.
Yeah, no, there is.
Sorry, Andy.
Still got to figure out what the last couple bans are. Looking like the side of Movistar KOI to get rid of some of those Answer into the Rell, those melee champions that you often see matched up into it. The Alistair and old school Answer into the Rell, even if the matchup has changed a little bit over time. Still a pretty solid option that Parus would have enjoyed.
Yeah, feels like there is potential. Depends what, if you want to save the fifth pick, you could potentially look towards something Poppy-like as well. Parus does really well into the Rell and lane, but we'll see what Parus is feeling, because he has played overwhelmingly the Rell. He's played some other stuff too. He played a Seraphine game, which was really good versus G2. Yeah, of course. And the Poppy, in fact, is banned out by Movistar KOI. Would have been good in multiple different roles. Would have even been good in top lane if they hadn't locked that Ambessa. That champion, very, very strong in the meta.
Corki, a consideration for Icy, whether it's locked in. It feels like it fits most competition. It's very strong right now, is locked in. And now they're going to leave Parus with the Luke Skywalker pick. Red 5 standing by, looking for a counter option to find the... of course I was going to do it somewhere. Yeah. Had to get at least one Star Wars reference in. It's practically an obligation. Kalista hasn't been banned. I kind of hadn't paid attention to that because I'm so used to it not being available.
We'll see if they can still go towards it. I mean, in Europe, Kalista hasn't been the be-all and end-all pick. Upset's played fantastic on it. Supa, he was actually one of the players that lost with it, I think, in week 2.
That makes sense,
Maybe it was week 1. Anyway, it was when it was much higher prior before the ban started to drop. Jojopyun goes over to the Azir instead. Long range, mid, and jungle. It feels like in terms of the carry roles, with the Aurora and the Corki being slightly more dive and bursty, I know they have some range. On the other side, you have the Kalista and the Azir. A little bit different on those sides. Lane dominance now from Movistar KOI between that Kalista. I don't know whether that means that BDS with their last pick support will be aiming for standard lanes or indeed for the lane swap to get away from that Kalista.
Looking for an engage option for Parus, and again, if you are going to go for a lane swap, Rakan's pretty good in those options. Good dive options, abilities to get out with the battle dance as well, so pretty good at those early tower dives. Is locked in, and we've got ourselves big old dive comp from BDS trying to get the resets for the Viego. On the other side, you've got a lot of agency for Alvaro with that Rell now. You know, you switch the drafts, and I feel like they're more towards the other team's style. This draft to me feels like a draft of takeaways. As, you know, long range in that mid lane. I suppose the bot lane's a little bit different, right? Because Supa and Alvaro love to play aggressive in the 2v2. That's a little bit more homestand. But taking away the Zyra, taking away the Nidalee and the bans as well, I think very intelligent from Movistar KOI. Can BDS play something a little bit different? Play for the Viego resets. Their engage is largely going to come from Parus on that Rakan. New player to this roster this year. He's going to have a lot of pressure on him, especially against Alvaro. He's had such a good split so far on Rell, which has been the choice pick of most of our LEC supports. Yeah, and I feel like with potential for a lane swap here, getting out of a Kalista lane always feels like a potentially good option. And if that doesn't happen, that lane, I have to keep our eyes on it, because giving the very aggressive lane an opportunity to play aggressive with something like a Kalista Rell can be pretty damn scary. Okay, drafts are done, headsets are off for the coaches, and towards the Rift we go for our first time today in LEC playoffs. Beautiful light shows over the crowd, showing some appreciation. Always good to hear. They're excited to be here. I am too. Nice to be able to fill in and get my hands on a game like this, as we do prepare ourselves to look at this draft. There's some very pointed statements. Someone had to do it. I'm just saying. Lights, camera, and hopefully some early action as we head on to the Rift. So, everyone begins to fan out, and I think question number 1 is, are we going to see a lane swap? And if not, Elyoya on the Zyra, one of the fastest clearing junglers in the game, could turn up wherever that Kalista is. Very fast indeed. Yeah, and I really want to see how Movistar KOI approach this early game. Elyoya has played a bunch of this before, of course. We're on the domination tree buff for the runes, which does mean that the electrocute is getting a little bit more commonly seen from the Aurora and the Zyra. And I really want to see whether Elyoya can start things off fast. Movistar KOI have always liked to be fast. We do have that level 1 stack up from BDS in their jungle, of course, trying to potentially stop Movistar KOI going in to get good wards down. I think the other half to Elyoya's early aggression has obviously been Alvaro, who has been such a star for Movistar KOI. I mean, the guy is a monster this year. And that is how we're phrasing this series, folks. If you watch the regular season, we know that Movistar KOI, they play fast, and they play through unlocking Alvaro on the map. Elyoya, a big part of that duo too. Alvaro having so much participation
in that early game. They're walking in now, and they have themselves a great 2v2 to get themselves unlocked. That Kalista can be a wrecking ball, which then allows you to move across the map.
Well, they do, and they are going to head towards standard lanes. No lane swaps found. There was a few level 1 counter plans in place, particularly from BDS, as we saw with that stack, but it didn't lead to anything as yet. And Alvaro goes crashing on down.
Oh, finally, these are the lanes you were looking for. Incredible. We finally get them as well. No lane swap coming through, which does mean you do have to survive Supa's Kalista. Can they make something happen in this early game? Zyra's going to be pathing from top lane down to bot lane. I think 113 has a couple of choices to make now, because he will be slightly slower to the punch in bot side. BDS will need to be ready to see where that first blow comes in from Movistar KOI. Might just be for a scuttle, might be for the 2v2.
Crashdown came through, but Parus actually heals to give the move speed away from that bit of Ferromancy. So summon a burn to get the move speed out. And when we say things are coming across, Alvaro finds the flip back with the mount up. Decent chunk comes on through. The Ignite goes on down. Nice.
Oh.
Loses 80% of his HP.
And now there's going to be some big problems for BDS, because you have to recall as that AD carry. You are not getting any control of the bot side. Now, what that means is Zyra, very, very happy plant. They're well watered, the sun is on them, and it means they get themselves access to bot side and the bot side crab if they want to. Really want to see what Elyoya does with this platform his bot lane has given him.
See, guys, if you want your jungle to succeed, if you want them to bloom, supports have to water them. Don't leave them alone. Yeah, I'm a jungle mate. Can you tell?
Can you tell? Nice play from Alvaro there. And Alvaro's, yeah, we mentioned him already, but it's really good getting this platform off. Really just need to see where this goes after this point. Winning the 2v2, that's step 1.
And again, you've drafted a Kalista. You need to win the lane. You need to get the early objectives. It's pretty much an obligation when you draft the champion. Of course, you've got options here in the fact that the Azir, the Zyra, you'll scale really well there. And the Kalista's going to give you a platform to get there, don't get me wrong. But when you draft that champion, you know what you want.
I actually liked one thing which just happened from 113, actually. Knowing that his bot lane just lost, he ended up going to his Gromp and then going up to his Wolves, just so when Zyra was going to be bot lane on that same timing, it means that he is further into his jungle. It's harder to reach towards him. If he's doing Gromp and Zyra walks in, look, bad time. It's a pretty bad time. If you go towards that wall, this keeps you a little bit safer. And also means you can path up towards top lane, towards the Scuttle Crab there. Even though his, oh well, okay, every lane is actually pushing right now. It's not the best situation for a jungler. He gets one of those Scuttle Crabs and he's not falling behind at the first early opportunity, but he's not bot lane now for a dive potentially.
Try to shield the early dive. Elyoya just turns up a little bit later, looking for the double grasping route. Alvaro takes a lot of turret aggro, but it doesn't matter. Supa claims first blood.
BDS left alone under their tower. 113 went for a top scuttle, and MKOI went towards the kills. It's onto the Kalista as well. What do we say? Step 1 is winning the 2v2. Well, this is step 2. Do something with it. They use that dive, and Ice has had a pretty poor time of it in the early game. This is the problem of letting through a competent Kalista.
Chat about Elyoya. We said, yo, Alvaro helped set that up, and what do you know? It turns up on our screens a few moments later. Feels good to have our prep turn into something vaguely useful every now and then. Irrelevant and Myrwn.
I'm sure there's a million things about sowing seeds and watching your garden grow, but
I don't want to start singing nursery rhymes.
Is that a thing?
I think it is. Is it Daisy? Daisy? How does your garden grow? I can't remember. I'm leaving this one alone. This is a very deep childhood memory I don't remember enough of. I'll just Mom and Dad, maybe back. They'll have an idea.
Jojo pushing out this mid lane, looking for his first reset of the game. Nuke coming back in as well. So, next resets come through. Of course, with the assist goal coming through from Elyoya, got himself to the Fated Ashes inventory. Going to start speeding up in terms of that clear again. And of course, important things are happening again on the minimap, which is cool to watch out. Wards starting to get dropped across the river. Watch how they start to walk across the place with 1 minute left until the grubs. I think Movistar KOI did a great timing on doing that bot lane dive to unlock this bot lane, to go top lane, push that in, and now set up towards those grubs. BDS, do they have the level? Well, they'll be getting level 6s soon, but do they really have the positioning to fight for first grubs? I don't really think they should take that risk.
Both supports on their reset find themselves matching up again just in Australia this time around as those grubs are spawning.
I did see Jake in the green ring.
He is around, yeah, Hysteric's on the next cast, so there you go. Maybe it's just a premonition. Nuke hops across the belt. Looks for a bit of a chunk and gets a solid one onto Jojo. All the while, 113 start up the dragon, but Myrwn and Elyoya coming over. Oh! 113 now slowed down. Nice move up from MKOI looking for the lane pressure, but here comes Alvaro from behind onto Nuke, who's going to go down. Jojo slides on in and claims the kill.
I don't think BDS expected Movistar KOI to be so heavily invested in bots. They just moved their Kalista up to top lane, and instead they contest the bot side injective as well. I mean, that's exactly what we were saying. Hey, they're setting up for the grubs. No, they go for the dragon and the kill. Really good bait and switch in the mind games of what Movistar KOI are doing there. Knockup misses onto Supa. Really good early game plans from Movistar KOI first. They came in with the pan. I think that the Wrecking Ball of the Kalista has opened up these aggressive opportunities. And just as we were saying, Movistar KOI are a fast team. Alvaro has been involved in both of the kills so far as well. Elyoya getting involved handily too. You know, as we were saying, there is a ward on here. I think 113, I think he's gotten so low now, the Dragon. He feels like, oh, I have to stay for it. Doesn't get that. Luckily, he gets out with his life. I would have expected Nuke to be able to get out. Has the flash, has the ult. Doesn't get a chance to use either, though. Walks up too far, loses his life.
Getting a second kill after is rough, and now we're looking at potential strike. Double shattering strike. Alvaro gets a huge moment. The Stranglethorns after, and BDS bot lane is being taken to the cleaners. 3 kills on this Kalista.
Every one of these kills in the early game is really empowering this Kalista, and BDS have not had an answer. Where has been the supporting cast for this 2v2 of Ice and Parus? They've been left alone against the Kalista, which is so dangerous in the early game. You have to wonder whether BDS could have sent some support down at some point, because now the game is very, very difficult. Very large gold lead for this point in the game. They're down both objectives on the early sides of the map, both top lane Grubs and the bot lane Dragon. BDS, what do? They like to slow down. They like to get towards that late game and play around some bigger damage numbers. I don't know if they're going to get there.
It's going to be very tricky. If this is the pace, we're going to be setting 2,500 gold as a lead. They've got the early set of objectives. I don't think it gets easier, especially if this is the pace that, as we said, is being set. Alvaro back on the map, clearing some wards.
So what BDS need to do is just find a way to stabilize, chill out for just a bit, because they can't allow the Kalista to become the story of this game, and it kind of has been, just pushing in, unlocking Elyoya and Alvaro to go wherever the heck they want. And, you know, Jojopyun and Myrwn, they're just kind of chilling out saying, cool, there's one of those solo queue games, your bot lane's turning up, sweet.
I mean, Jojopyun got donated to kill. Alvaro, okay, mate,
True.
I've got you one. Hang on, let me quickly stun up your mid laner for you.
My lord, would you like a kill?
Yes, very much so.
They tend to answer that. God, gotta feel bad for Ice and Parus, though. They lost that. It felt like they lost that one trade, and then the whole game kind of started falling apart. There were a couple of knockups going on to Alvaro. It does have the flash, does have the crash down.
Got a Fate's Call behind him too. You know, for all we're saying, the Kalista sometimes not always the greatest in Europe. When it's set up for a player like Alvaro, who is such a huge playmaker and has been this split, an extra button to go in or out feels really good for him.
Movistar KOI. Really good start to this series, and you know, we were saying, hey, might be closer than yesterday. Early game so far, really, well, I mean, I suppose this is what you want to do with the early game of Movistar KOI's conflict. We'll see whether that continues beyond this point. Problem with Kalista is that it tends to, I'm sorry. But BDS really need to find themselves a way to stabilize. So we have our first pause of the day, and we get to, well, I mean, this is probably not the way they wanted to slow the game down, but
it is physically pausing the game.
Physically slowed it down. Congratulations.
All right, well, when we know what's going on, you'll see it at the ticker at the bottom of the screen. One of my favorite additions to the LEC overlay is the completely or regularly updated info on what's wrong, when, why we've got a pause.
One thing I like as well, it's a little mind game I like to play, because after you come out of the pause, normally the camera goes onto a person. You get to have
that was fast.
It's kind of like a you know, the walk of shame in terms of who paused the game, who was it, who's.
It was you, Alex.
I didn't pause.
I think yes, you did. I've seen the cast button. You hit pause.
Well, cast to start the game. Hey, maybe we can fix that up or something, but yeah, just get a chance to settle the nerves maybe a little bit on stage. So get back into it.
Ready checks are completed, and 3, 2, 1, and back into game. There we go. At least on my screen. We'll be there very shortly. I clearly went a little earlier than observers. My bad, guys. But I promise you, gameplay is happening.
Good start, son.
I tried. Look, I was reading the timer on screen.
Another thing of interest as well, as we've, of course, been focusing on hectic early game that's come through. 1-1-3. We said it was a specialty champion, this Viego of his. You played it in years past when he's been in ERLs and, of course, in the LEC Line back in 2022. This is actually the first Viego of LEC 2025.
Is it really?
It is. So says the screen in front of me. So whoever read that on there, I'm going to trust them. And yeah, I mean, it does unlock a reset composition. Can they get something here? He's in the middle of a fight.
Good chunk on Elyoya, who's very low, throws down the Stranglethorns, gets a big knock-up, trying to get away, doesn't quite have the flash. 1-for-1 right now. Parus shuffled away by Jojo, looking to get an auto or 2 more down, can't get to the blast cone. And Jojo picks up another nuke, desperately low to boot it all off. There's a control ward in the bush, and there'll be no one following it up. BDS on the board, but not cleanly there.
No, and they didn't get the reset for the Viego. 1-1-3 didn't quite get his ult off in time. And while all this is happening, Kalista still hitting a turret, 1,600 gold ahead of his opposite number now. Myrwn is hitting a tower on the other side, and as much as in the pre-show, Odo was saying, oh, you know, top lane's important for this guy, for Myrwn. He's just been watching the rest of it. He's just been, look, he'll turn up later into the game. He'll be a side character for our team fights later on. BDS, they try and buck the trend, defend their own jungle. Really not worked out in the way that they would have liked.
They finally get that kill on Elyoya, but he's still 1,000 gold up. He's got a completed Leandries. Myrwn goes all out here onto Nuke, who does have flash, but does have to burn it to escape the K'Sante. And we were saying he's supposed to be a side character. Myrwn says, actually, I want an action sequence too. Supa summons the Fate's Call. Alvaro goes for a crash down on top of 2. 113 is around. Teleports continue to fly as MKOI want to really force this, and a rend comes on out, and down goes Ice, melted in front of our eyes.
Oh, you can tell that Supa had good calculations on the amount of spears he had on that poor Yordle's Rafflecopter. Goes down for the 3rd death of the game, combined between Ice and Parus in 10 minutes. They have died 5 times. It all really started, it felt like, from that early clear, leaving them alone for a dive. You're always going to go and swoop up these grubs. 1-3 might be able to get a smite steal, but Alvaro is warding him away. 6 grubs to Movistar KOI. They get themselves the feats of strength in terms of the kills too. They are, with this, unlocking the full set of them. Upgraded boots earned by Movistar KOI.
And we head in towards the enemy jungle. Elyoya and Alvaro linked together with Jojo this time around. 113 will try and take out the Dragon Lord this side to at least get something, but it is a very small silver lining, as that is going to be first turret as well. Yeah, 6 grubs on Azir, who's pushing lanes, on Kalista, on the K'Sante who's pushing as well. Yeah, the only way they get to us is by having those 6 grubs, and I don't know, it's raining as well or something. So just a little bit of extra misery. Really annoying that for the bot lane here, that the Kalista manages to stack up the lethal tempo stack so quickly, so early, and just keeps jumping forward. You can use so much of that mobility, and just completely shreds through Corki. First tower going over towards Jojopyun on the Azir 2-0-1. Been beneficiary of a lot of that gold. There is no roll, which is looking particularly healthy for BDS. I mean, you might be able to pull off a big engage combo with a reset onto the Zyra with the Ambessa at some point, but I think at this point, BDS's job is to find mistakes by Movistar KOI. They really need to try and find someone out of position, and it's going to be a big problem because if you do go for big fights, I mean, you do have a Kalista ult and the Kalista hop forwards, which means that they respond very quickly to plays. Zyra puts down the ultimate. If you don't cleanly kill them, that ultimate's going to make your fight very difficult too. It's not even like you can guarantee an outscale here either, because the Azir, the Zyra scale just fine. So yes, you've got good damage later on, but it's not like Movistar KOI are falling off a cliff come 25 minutes. Yeah, so let's see if they can use some smoke and mirrors, catch someone out. But actually, if you're doing it in bot lane, I think they've been sniffed out just a bit. Movistar KOI really on it today. Everyone's going onto it. Into the public execution. Alvaro's going to try and buy some time, but there's a shuffle to get Jojo out to safety. Stranglethorns comes down. Parus now in danger. They have to back away. There is a teleport. Supa's here as well. Huge W as Myrwn goes all out. 113 will claim Jojo finally, but I think the damage is done. Hang on. Flash away. Double for 113. There's something coming back. Can look to steal another body. I don't think he's going to have quite enough to hop anymore. At least gets 2 back. It's a 2 for 2, all things said and done. BDS were always going to look for that kind of play, catch someone away from the group, but Movistar KOI see it coming, and they do largely win out on it, and with the 6 grubs, they get to capitalize on it too. Ice is pushing in the mid lane. He'll get something from that, at least for BDS, in terms of some tower plates, I suppose, in the mid lane. He's not going to be able to take the whole thing. It's a couple of kills down, and the resets, you can see the potential of the Viego if you get rolling, but it's just not enough. Movistar KOI, really good response. They spotted that out well in advance. I mean, it's been a little while now, but Movistar KOI have picked up first 3 kills, first 3 objectives, and the first turret, and then finally we get a response here from BDS, but it's just not a clean one. And again, they're in position massively in advance. Alvaro does a thing which I love to see. When someone is picked off, you don't engage on the person who's engaging on you. You engage on the person behind them so they can't follow up. Alvaro splits the fight, make sure the damage is not in position, make sure the first kill onto Azir takes that little bit longer. That means that afterwards, the HP bar is still very much in favor of Movistar KOI to stick around for the turret kill. Still, nearly 6,000 gold lead now for MKOI. Look at that plate gold difference. They like crockery, they do. Many plates taken. Probably shouldn't break them if you like them so much, but Movistar KOI just throwing them at their enemies. You ever been to one? Do you think you need to go one of those rage rooms where you get those plates you can break to satisfy your? Is that what Summer's Rift is? Maybe that could be like a thing for one of the internationals. You know, at the fan venues, just like have a break your own plates thing. Just run at a tower covered in things that are breakable. I could get into that. Plates breaking. Demolish IRL. I could support that. I could. So, lot of turrets down now. Obviously, in the side lanes, the 2 on top lane. Okay, not that one. 2 turrets down. More than 1, I suppose. Movistar KOI will be looking to. I'm so good at knowing that 2 is better than 1 or 0. Now, of course, Movistar KOI will be looking to potentially get that Herald, use that to support a 6 grub push, break this inner turret, not the inner turret, the middle turret for BDS. I think if they lose that mid lane outer turret,
the game gets very, very, well, it was already very difficult, but even more so again, because then they start losing even more of the vision, which is starting to go against them. 1-1-3, see how dangerous it is for him to even walk up into the river. You find a Kalista, and even there, a big threat. Blade of the Ruin King completed on the way towards a Rage Blade. After that point, BDS, they have to start really working in big numbered groups. Probably even 2 people isn't enough now. Probably need 3 people to really be safe from the wandering members of Movistar KOI.
And of course, this is not anywhere near the first time we've seen these guys face off, and it's back again.
This time last year.
Very exciting.
Yeah, for those of you who think this matchup in winter feels a little bit familiar.
Yeah.
This time last year, Movistar KOI, obviously Mad Lions KOI back at that point, had 4 ERL rookies, which made a blazing playoffs run to get themselves to a finals in winter, and they went through BDS to do it. BDS, they had a decent result. I think they finished 2nd, in that regular split, and then of course fell at the hands of this team on the blue side today. They've got a little bit of a history when it comes to those playoffs, and Movistar KOI starting off well today. Herald started off, BDS not being allowed into the river, and that's a bit of a problem. They don't even have that much range to play around, which they'd normally draft.
They have got the one ward in the banana bush, though, which is making a little bit more of an information, or giving them a little more information they might have otherwise. Doesn't stop the Herald going down, though, and BDS kind of just awkwardly looking. Now Myrwn on a flank is making them retreat through a bit of an awkward path here.
A little bit. Myrwn still spoiling a little bit for a fight. Everyone runs up here, 5v5 in the middle of the map. What's Myrwn doing here?
It's a bit of a chunk, and that's a great route from the side of Elyoya. Forces a flash and an ult out from 1-1-3.
BDS, sadly, because they spent so much time contesting the Herald, they don't even have a chance to really do much about Dragon. They can't even do that now. The Herald's being put down into mid lane. I like what Movistar KOI are doing here. They say, well, we're going to take the Herald. We don't have to take the Dragon now. We can use the Herald to slam into mid lane, force BDS to just stay here. Well, they can't really do much about it. Dragon potentially sets up. You can see that Parus on a very long flank, actually. Has ult, has flash, might be able to do something.
Parus
It's still
quite
a long angle.
See, he's trying to make it out. Vision from our observers showing that Parus currently on a very deep flank. Irrelevant.
There's no
now
plans on Supa. If he does get if he gets the charm onto Supa, things could be quite dangerous. But again, Movistar KOI have been really good at sniffing out the next play from BDS in this game so far. Not a bad angle from Parus. If you do push in very heavily on one lane, well, you beat that, you flank him, you go on their flanking angle, see if you can catch them out. Couldn't quite do so that. So Movistar KOI in this series of play, get the Herald, use that to push mid, go down towards the Dragon. They don't immediately rush towards the Dragon. I think that's a good thing for them. And BDS, they haven't really had much chance to cross up. They're teleporting now to a side lane, which to me feels a little bit late. They've not really managed to get anything away from the objectives that MKOI are starting to take.
Now we hit this point where you've got nearly a 3,000 gold lead individually for this Kalista, who will be finishing a second item very shortly. In fact, nearly the entirety of Movistar KOI will be finishing second item shortly, while BDS will be stuck at 1 for the foreseeable future, and that's going to hurt.
Oh, this feels a little bit like Tutorial League of Legends. 6 grubs, demolish on the tower, easy in a tower take. You can see that, of course, Nuke is pushing the top lane now, but because that teleport came out a little bit late, maybe they were afraid of getting engaged on before that teleport came out. Just a little bit slow to get towards that tower. Taking it down now, but not before a lot of damage is done. Supa's backing for 2 items now. He's a 5-kill Kalista. God help us. BDS, yeah.
Finishes second item, buys half of the next one. Yeah, I mean, this guy is so strong.
One of the lesser-known terms in League, which I like, is you've heard of the one-shot, 100-0. What have you heard of the one-shop, where you get enough gold to buy an item straight out?
Till your enemies drop. Yeah.
Is that the slogan for it?
It is now.
Yeah, you can be the next shopkeeper, because people can lose to shopkeeper when you give them slogans.
Just you know, paste me in over Parus. It's me there. Hi guys.
No, Sam, I'm not going to be doing that.
Just visiting your nightmares.
Much like Supa's Kalista.
No, you can't buy Magi's anymore, I'm sorry.
No, my favorite item. What will I do without it?
So, let's get a check-in on game state. A lot of these turrets all falling down 4-1 in those structures, and as we've already said, those second items now largely completed by Movistar KOI. It is a Rift Maker second on the Azir as well, going for a slightly tankier, sustainy build over something like a Nash's, which we sometimes see on him.
I really want to build up, because you know who really hates that? This dude over here. Because he wants to reset on that guy. He's got like 1,000 more HP than he should do. That's a problem. Rift Maker gives you the heals as well. The great thing about this build, by the way, fun fact, these items will affect his tower shots. So spell effects do affect that too. So if you watch that later in the game, maybe you'll see the burn applying afterwards. Either way, a bit more tanky makes it much harder to get the resets. Bit of a brush bait.
Nice brush bait. It's onto the backline. Super and Elyoya caught out. Huge play from BDS. Can they finish the job though? As 1-1-3's gone in and not really got the reset they were looking for. Only find 1 for 1. Movistar KOI defend well enough.
They've really just managed to shut down the Zyra before they could do anything. They've gone back and immediately bought Azonya's fully up there. Elyoya would love to use that in the next play. BDS get one play, but it's not quite enough to get the reset train rolling because the Viego dies on the other side.
Problem is, we've lost both smites, but there was a while there BDS had gotten super cleanly. Atakan on that side of the map. You can see what they're thinking. They can't turn it into that, and that just means Movistar KOI go into the jungle, steal everything. Okay. Let's look at the bait again.
So, they see a ward hit. Look, if the ward is there at that HP, you know someone's been nearby, and I don't think you should be the one going up. He's actually checking the brush with the plant, so he thinks someone's there, but the engage comes out too quick to immediately respond. The instincts were right, the execution not quite. BDS, good job on them for using the limited opportunities they have to get something back, but once again, it's not quite enough to get a big, resounding win.
It's not even a win at all, really, in the grand scheme of things. They still have to back off. They still end up only going even in the kills, but hey, you'll take anything you can get at this point. It's feeling very, very difficult to find a game state where you're going to be able to find a clean pick. It has to be catching someone off guard, because if it's a standard play, Movistar KOI hold all the cards.
See, the 113 is currently off vision. He's got a sweeper in there, but Alvaro doesn't quite manage to catch the Rune King. Instead, Elyoya catches Parus over the wall too. Yikes, that's a lot of damage from the electrocute on the Zyra.
Go on towards the Atakan, sticking it full of spears currently. Again, you are now into a position where even if you contest, it's not even with the Kalista end, and 113 caught out trying to find an angle to come in and see what's happening at Atakan and just dies. Now there's no smite contest at all.
And that's going to be a bit of an issue. So, Movistar KOI, do they go straight back towards the Atakan? Yes, they do. You can see the hop, the skip, and the jump on the minimap of the Kalista, putting the spears into it. Ice is going to be able to take the mid lane out of turret, which is something for BDS. It'll give them an ability to put down wards into the enemy jungle if they can find a route in there. But Atakan taken for free.
Claimed, and now it's a 3v4 in the mid lane that Movistar KOI were very happy to take, and you can't really blame them at this point. The frontline plus in Azir does a lot of work, and Nuke forced to go between worlds and will hop to the other side of his arena briefly, but that's another ultimate down, and BDS, it feels like they just don't have anything left to try.
Well, Parus is currently off vision. He might try something here.
Tries to go in, and there's the public execution after they get a withdrawal, but then the turnaround begins to come on through. The Stranglethorns are there. Fate's Call used a double kill to Elyoya, and they keep trading back. There's another withdrawal down at least, but that's not as easy as you want as Supa. It's just untouched, so stuck Irrelevant full of quite a few spears. And he'll back away to make sure he's out of range of the Rend.
Credit to Parus for looking for something. Ends up being a 2-for-2 with kills to withdrawals, so even then it's tilted in favor of Movistar KOI. They use the 6 scrubs to take down an inner turret, and the train just keeps on rolling forward. BDS, they are still, I mean, just look at all the gold leads down I mean, your carry rolls are behind in every single bit, and even at the top lane as well. You've got Myrwn, who's significantly far ahead of the Ambessa as well. Credit to Myrwn. His last couple of Ws forward to get that shunt into the Q3 have been very dangerous. BDS had to respect that an awful lot. Supa, center of this composition on the Kalista, getting another objective. They are currently one objective, that one dragon, which went over to BDS, away from a full house of control across the rift on the objective level against BDS.
And now with Baron spawning in a couple minutes, they've already picked up the Atakan. You're going to hit this point where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Catch 22 scenario where there's a Baron on one side and a Soul on the other. And what does BDS choose? Realistically a lost game, but the choice still sucks. It's not really a choice at all.
Hang on a second.
That's what I'm getting at.
Isn't that the whole thing, the Catch 22?
Yeah,
the choice is irrelevant?
Yeah, that was what I was going for, yeah.
Thanks, cool.
Yeah, just checking.
Cool. Let's check we're on the same page sometimes. Right, okay.
22, apparently. You don't check the caster handbook? Come on, man.
Not today, apparently. Nuke, 2 items in inventory. Maybe, if you're really lucky, as a treat, you can obliterate a carry for you. Quite hard to do that, though. We've already said, you know, it hurts the Viego trying to look for resets, trying to kill the tankier Azir build. He's gone for the, I've learned this name, the Chain-Laced Crushers?
Look at you, that's
the Merc Treads upgrades on Feeder Strength. I like to learn because it makes me feel special, so.
I learned all the Ornn items back in the day.
Gone
They're
now,
no longer relevant.
You're no longer special.
Where is my syzygy, right? Yeah. Where is it gone? Is it safe? Is
Sam,
it all right?
I'm sorry, you are no longer allowed to have that special little feat for yourself. But yeah, with the Merc Treads, back to the serious part of it, the Merc Treads does make him a little bit more defensible. Really trying to play around vision here on BDS, but his Nuke just caught out.
Oh, the killer bunny rabbit with the sharp pointy teeth is eating a holy hand grenade of Antioch this time around. Nuke is about to be nuked, you think, but actually managed to walk away. The Ambassador goes in, and Parus tried to buy some time. Look at Jojo on the flank, looking for an angle, gets a few with the Emperor's Divide. Descending from the north of Canada into Europe to find a few here in his first match in playoffs. All out goes Myrwn, and Irrelevant is just that in this game.
Looks like all the BDS caught some air miles there, either by shuffle All by all out through the wall. Movistar KOI not caught out again. BDS have been resorting to the vision plays, and it just hasn't worked for them. It's going to be Baron started up by Movistar KOI, and it's very likely going to be finished by them as well. Very clean game from Movistar KOI here in game 1 against BDS.
They are 10,000 gold up. They're about to pick up a Baron, and BDS, it is a miracle or next game, I think, is all they've got left to work with. Dragon spawns in a couple minutes, but by the time that's coming up, you can imagine the shuffle have come well and truly through. This is this replay as Nuke was looking for flank and is spotted out by a blue trinket.
And this is your captain speaking. We'll soon be taking off from Azir Airport to cruise at a height of around about 20 feet as Jojo comes in to clean up the end of this play. It starts with the vision play coming from Nuke. He gets caught out and lift off. Ice missed the boarding gate apparently, but he's still not able to save the fight.
Yeah, and then afterwards, Myrwn's got enough speed to go knock Irrelevant through the wall, picks him up as well. It's a triple kill for this Kazante. Remember when we said he was not a main character? Now 5-0-4. He is sadly damn scary.
Sadly taking a bit of a backseat to the 7-0 and 5 Kalista on the other side. But I mean, honestly, the story of this game is Movistar KOI playing really heads-up League of Legends. Every time they think there is an option for BDS to be in a bush, they've sniffed it out pretty well. I mean, I'm not going to criticize BDS for trying. Like, once again, Parus is in a brush. They're doing the same thing over and over. It's got to work at some point, right?
Here goes Parus and 1-1-3 into the backline onto Jojo, who might be the target, but he's so damn tanky, he gets to slide away. You can't blame him for looking. There's just not enough in the back pockets. Their weapons are just rusted and not dangerous enough to get through all of the armor, all of the health, and all of the turnaround punches that Movistar KOI keep throwing. They pick up a tier 2. They don't lose a member. And Irrelevant and 1-1-3 both fall.
How do you kill this Azir? Jojopyun makes it out. They don't get the resets again. It's going to be a kill to Supa.
All right, Nuke.
Gets a kill there. The Kalista goes down. As Nuke does finally, as a treat, give them a bit of a kill back, which stops a death push coming in from Movistar KOI, but that is a bit of a tarnished silver lining.
I remember back in draft when we said, oh, this looks like Movistar KOI playing a bit of a BDS draft. A bit more of a control one.
I think look, Sam, I think the Kalista changed that a bit. It's made it a bit difficult to play, Sam. They go in towards this vision play again. They're choosing the right spots to come out of vision. They just don't have the stats now. They go on to the Azir. This is one of the people you really want to shut down. You can see, though, the shuffle, there was the Chain Laced Crusher shield, the feats of strength boots, which really added some extra HP into, alongside the item build. Means that you don't get the resets. Viego dies first. The Ambessa threw themselves into melee. So difficult to come out of this.
Picture in picture, of course, we come back to live as Movistar KOI are currently invading into BDS's blue side jungle, because if you look at the top right corner of your screen, you will see that a Hex Dragon is spawning in 20 seconds. And that would be soul for Movistar KOI if they can claim it. And at that point, if the game wasn't already over, it would be then.
Feels like we've said that a couple of times. BDS, can they find another pocket to play from? Nuke has teleport, could make his way down. Do they have any flanking wards? Look on the minimap. No. No, they don't. So that one's a little bit difficult. The bunny will have to hop their way towards the fight from a different angle. And now suddenly BDS, they are caught out against the wall again. And now Luke's have to teleport into the middle of the team.
Supa flashes away as Parus desperately tries to find a quickness, doesn't quite find it. They lose Nuke, he's dead already. So is the top laner. Irrelevant out, 1-1-3, and Parus fleeing into Movistar KOI's jungle. There is nowhere you can run that you'll be not pinned to the ground by Supa on this Kalista, who is using that martial poise to continue to hunt for this Viego, who's desperately trying to run away, but at this point, he's got a yakety sax in a dream. It doesn't really matter. The soul is significantly more important. He will get to reset, but that's all you can say, because Movistar KOI are shoving to break the base.
Nuke! The middle of the team is not a flank. That's not the ward you want. Flies into the middle of the team, has damage, but not able to use any of it. And with the 6 grubs as well, you get the support on the top lane, able to shred through towers on their own. Supa is left to do the dragon on his own. He's allowed to go out and have his own curfew now. The rest of the team will pick him up later. 2 inhibs down from 2 lane pushes, get a dragon and a Hexgate back out to the rest of their team. Movistar KOI, what a clean sweep.
Look, we were setting this up as an archetype of fast v slow, but then there's Mach 5 and not out of the starting gate, it feels like this time. BDS have been shell-shocked.
It really has ever been since that laning phase from that Kalista. I think it's got so difficult. Jojo! What a sweep.
Taken out by Jojo. Goes looking for another. 3-1-10 now.
Turns out you can't play the vision bait if you don't have an engager to sit there. You're dead. You can't look for that one again. And now with that pick, they might just look towards the Nexus itself. There's a teleport back to the turrets from Irrelevant, who sadly, I don't think I've ever mentioned him. Besides that, this game, he's not had anything to do. Movistar KOI moving towards the turrets.
Looking to end the game. Movistar KOI hop on forwards, and BDS are going to throw one last gasp but it is just their last breath before Movistar KOI put them out of their misery. It has been a shellacking. They have destroyed this game from the early tower dive, from the early 2v2 damage, and they've not looked back. Taking a fair amount of damage shoving through these turrets, though. They've got Hexol and a Dream, and the Nexus likely still falls. Movistar KOI gonna play with their food a little before ending it all.
Apathy for the series, first game of Fearless down. Movistar KOI, this was not close. BDS back to the drawing board.
Credit over there just before the end of the game to Alvaro. He was 23 out of 24 kill participation. We'd highlighted him early, and he really was absolutely everywhere that game. They were going fast, and it was off the back. Things like that Kalista lane and all the rest of it. But we are going to throw to a break for now. When we come back, it will be the desk breaking down that destructive game one for Movistar KOI versus BDS.
He doesn't like that. Look at him, he's a good boy, but he don't like that.
Maybe we could play some A-rounds or something like that. I mean, this is map, right? New towers, new objectives.
Have a break. Have a Kit Kat. Red Bull gives you wings.